Hello, everybody. Darren Cross here. Welcome to week 8 of Business 128, Principles of Supervision. This week, we're going to be covering 2 chapters. We haven't done that before, but we're going to be covering 2 chapters this week, and we're going to be talking about problem solving and decision making. In chapter 8, we talk about problem solving, decision making, and creativity. These are crucial skills for a supervisor. You have to be able to think critically, look at the entire context, and make some decisions about what to do. So we look at the rational decision making process, and then we move into talking about what to do when we need to kind of think beyond the outside of the box. And then in chapter 9, we actually talk about productivity and ways that you can ensure that your team is doing what they're supposed to be doing. And this is where the control part of the POLC framework comes in. So we look at control mechanisms. So let's talk about the learning objectives. Number 1, we're going to identify the steps in a rational decision-making process. A lot of people think that we make rational decisions, but actually we don't. But we're going to look at what it means to actually look at things from a rational standpoint and make decisions. So we'll look at the steps in the decision-making process. Discuss ways people make compromises in the decision-making model. We'll describe guidelines for making decisions. We'll explain how probability theory, decision trees, and computer software can help us make decisions. So it takes out that emotion part that comes in, and it helps us to maintain rationality when we make decisions. We'll discuss the advantages and disadvantages of making decisions in groups. So when we make decisions individually, it's one thing, but then when other people come into play, it changes the game. So we'll talk about that. We'll describe the guidelines for group decision making, describe the guidelines for thinking creatively. So when we need to start thinking outside of the box and we need to start thinking about things that maybe we haven't done before, we need to be creative. So that's where we start to talk about creativity. We'll discuss how supervisors can establish and maintain a creative work climate, identify ways to overcome barriers to creativity, and then we move into chapter 9, where we talk about the consequences suffered by organizations as a result of poor quality work. We want people to actually do what they're supposed to be doing, right? We compare product quality control and process control. We summarize technique for quality control. We will identify ways that organizations can measure their success in continuous quality improvement. We always want to be getting better, and we always want to measure everything to the extent that it's feasible. You don't want to spend $1 million to measure something that's only costing you $100,000, right? But the thing is, I had a boss one time that always used to say, "Inspect what you expect," and that's really what this stuff is about. We're going to summarize techniques for quality control. I think we already talked about this. Identify constraints on productivity. We're going to describe how productivity and productivity improvements are actually measured. Identify ways that productivity can actually be improved. And then explain why employees have fears about productivity improvement and how supervisors can address those fears. It all boils down to being comfortable and people feeling like if they don't perform, they're not gonna have their job. And then when things come in and you're changing the game up, people feel insecure. That's what it boils down to. But you're gonna dig in yourself and actually digest all of this stuff. Pretty simple stuff. It is 2 chapters, but I think you'll be okay. But as always, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Good luck.